Okay, this is Urban McMullen again. Now that I sort of sped through the Bible at hyper speed, I'd like to answer these three questions that are part of the project. The first one is the stronger parts of the story of Scripture were for me. Now, the fact is that all of my life I've leaned against Paul, and I'm more familiar with his work than anything else. He was designated as a Gentile apostle, and so I've sort of emphasized on that in all of my studies over the years. But the interesting thing for me about this story is that generally over decades and decades, you sort of learn these stories bit by bit. It's sort of like a chain of beads, and so you know the story of Adam pretty well, and you know the story of Noah, and then of Abraham. And the interesting thing is linking those together is not that easy. And the reason is because in itself those are unique stories, but they're sort of affected by the poetry books, and they're affected by the books of the prophets. And so when you start interfacing those things into those stories, it does become a little complicated. And so generally I've sort of avoided a lot of those issues. And while I'm familiar with the stories, it was actually, for me, it was kind of a chore to try to link all these things together from Genesis to Revelation. I have to admit that. The other thing is the story that I need to work on is that I've never been that interested in the Old Testament. And the reason is I've accepted Christ by faith and not by knowledge for a great part of my life. And while to me the Old Testament is interesting, my greater interest is in the New Testament. I think that's probably pretty typical for most people because it's easier to understand. And the Old Testament generally deals with Jewish history, and it's probably more something that they're interested in, and I know that. So my sense is that I've always had an interest in eschatology ever since I first saw the movie The Late Great Planet Earth in the early 70s. So it's been kind of an interest to me, so I follow that. But I'm a little weak on the Old Testament, especially the prophets. For me, that's a very difficult read because a lot of that is you need a great deal of knowledge to sort of understand. Now, the interesting thing is that when I first started this course, and I read this book, the little book, I was a little surprised. I didn't quite understand what the thrust of the class was, and this little book by Marty was just a little. It was a little odd to me. I was expecting something a little more intellectual, and it wasn't until I got about halfway through the book and I read the syllabus over 2 or 3 times that I understood what the real idea of the course was, so I sort of gained a little more insight and became a little more interested. But the things that I think changed for me was the fact that for the first time I'd been introduced to the importance of the covenants. You know, the Abrahamic covenant and the Noahic covenant and the Mosaic covenant, and I didn't realize that they were that important, but they certainly are. And so that was a thing that it was new to me. You know, I knew that God promised Abraham certain things, but I didn't realize the importance of those, and I found those terribly, terribly valuable. And I was kind of glad that it sort of weaves into the narrative of the whole Bible narrative. I mean, I really appreciated that. And I really enjoyed the class. It was good. It was very good. Thank you very much.